I am not gonna lie, I got pretty frustrated in my first serious session of Into the Radius. This game doesn't hold your hand, and while it does give you some of the basic information of how things work, it isn't something you're going to understand until you play it. That said, it's a very addictive game once you learn how to play it, and you will build strategies that make it less frustrating over time. You're either going to love Into the Radius or hate it, and I'm going to try and help you determine if it is for you. But first, I just want to say thank you for supporting my small channel. Please like and subscribe if you want to see this channel grow. Into the Radius is a single-player extraction shooter with some light story elements and a progression system. There are some survival elements, but they aren't super intense or overly annoying like they are in games like Ghost of Tabor or Green Hell, where you will die from thirst every 15 minutes or so. In fact, you don't need a drink at all in this game, and eating is used to restore your stamina bar, giving you longer sprint times, but I don't think you will die from starvation either. There are no elaborate macronutrient systems or food poisoning or any of those deep survival game mechanics. Weapons can break and jam if they are not maintained, but it really isn't hard to maintain them, and they aren't breaking down ridiculously fast like in Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. The system for cleaning your gun with gun oil and a toothbrush or paper towels and a ramrod are pretty cool in my opinion, but you can also just pay to repair your items if you don't feel like doing the maintenance mechanics yourself. You can take a brand new gun out on a few missions before it will need attention. Magazines also need to be maintained with gun oil and a toothbrush, or they will begin to jam over time. Though I have found that some suppressors do degrade kind of fast if you're using them a lot during a run. I'm not sure if any of this is different on other difficulties, as I have only been playing on normal, but this game does seem fair with food and weapon degradation mechanics in my opinion. This game requires tactics and strategy, and there is a pretty severe risk versus reward element here. Magazines need to be reloaded manually, bullet by bullet, and there are many bullet sizes and 4 different bullet types. There are full metal jacket rounds, armor piercing plus, and subsonic rounds. Guns have safety, so you also need to make sure your safety is off before you engage in battle. There is a mechanic that if you hold a box of ammo to a magazine, it will begin to auto-load it. There are many attachments you can get as well, from suppressors to scopes to lasers, etc. I really appreciate the slower and more tedious approach of this game. It is very different from the run and gun shooters that VR is full of, but rather these mechanics make you really weigh whether or not it is worth engaging or avoiding enemies. Having a gun customized to your playstyle and purpose makes a huge difference in your success. For instance, a silenced handgun with a scope is a great way to take out enemies from mid-range without drawing the attention of other nearby enemies. While a fully automatic weapon with a laser is great for taking out armed enemies fast, there are also enemies with armor that might require armor-piercing bullets, so gaining familiarity with the map and paying attention to the mission details really pays off. Health is not regained unless you enter a med bay for a cost at the base, sleep, or use a medical syringe, and these are not a common find on the battlefield, but they can be purchased at the base. Running costs stamina, the stamina bar slowly degrades over time, and faster the more you run. You can restore your stamina bar by eating food. You also lose stamina over time and when you sleep. There are a few different types of enemies and obstacles. There are simple slow-moving shadow zombie creatures that will slowly close in on you and won't stop pursuing you until they are either killed or you leave the zone. There are pouncing spider-like creatures that leap very high and quickly at you. There are mimic cops that shoot at you, and more. When a creature is killed, it stays dead until the tide happens, which I will get into in a bit. Determining whether it is worth the ammo to clear an area is something that you will need to determine each time you see an enemy in the distance. You will also be able to carve out paths of little to no enemies that you can use when going out to do missions. There are also anomalies that will hurt you. These range from stationary to moving, from visible to only visible in intervals to completely invisible, and all of them have their own mechanics. Some just need to be avoided altogether, while one is harmless if you have a gas mask on. One can be temporarily harmless if you throw a probe into it. One can be walked through if you shine a light on it. Honestly, unless you read up on these online, they are going to kill you when you first start playing. I consider them part of the learning curve, and I found them very frustrating when I first started the game, but once you learn how they work a little bit, it isn't so bad. The controls are pretty good. This definitely feels like a game built for VR from the ground up, and it has a lot of VR interaction. I switched the grab controls from the grab buttons R1 and L1 but they are R2 and L2 by default. A lot of people complain about the climbing mechanics, and honestly I have had some difficulty with climbing some of the weirder climbing paths that you come across from time to time, though basic ladders haven't been an issue for me. Opening drawers and cupboards is a bit buggy. Also, occasionally the force grab will launch an item through you into oblivion, but it is pretty rare. My biggest gripe is that clicking the R3 button, which is pushing down on the right analog stick, brings up the menu. So when the situation gets tense and you are trying to quickly turn to shoot another enemy, if you press too hard, the game pauses and you're in a menu. I have not found a way to change that setting yet, and I don't think there is one. I can get very heavy thumbs in combat, and I hate it when games use this button for things that take you out of the game. I am over 12 hours into this game, and I still accidentally pull up the menu sometimes when I'm in combat. Getting back to base with a good loot is very rewarding. You can hoard a lot of crap. Almost anything can be sold for money, so coming back to the base with a full backpack feels satisfying. However, if you die with a full backpack, it will stay at your corpse, and you will lose it unless you go back and loot your corpse, item by item. If you die in an area where you can't reach your corpse with a force grab, just consider that whole backpack lost forever. This means that when you know you have a good haul, it is sometimes worth going back to base even if you haven't completed the mission, just to drop off your loot. You do not lose the items that are on your body holsters though. Loot does not reset until the tide occurs, so if you loot an area, that area will not have loot again. There are invisible treasures in the battlefield as well called artifacts. You find them using the 8015 detector, which beeps and blinks when you are near one. The light turns green when you are facing it, and the blinks and beeps increase in speed the closer you get to it. Pressing the trigger while holding the device will make it flash, and if you flash the object it becomes revealed and you can pick it up. These sell for a good price at the base, and a few even have in-game use. Getting to an artifact usually requires navigating through some pretty heavy anomaly areas, so make sure you kill any enemies around before you attempt it, as they are not affected by the anomalies. Every 4 days in-game there is an event called the Tide. If you are in base during the Tide, then all that happens is everything resets. The enemies respawn, loot is redistributed on the map, new artifacts are placed on the map, and the outside world is basically refreshed. If you are outside in the Tide when it occurs though, it will drop you in a random zone. The play loop is simple. You accept a mission and you complete it, turn in whatever items you were sent out for, and get rewarded. Accept a new mission, prepare for that mission, complete it. There are priority missions that progress you towards getting level promotions, which are needed to access harder missions and better gear. When a mission rewards you with a level, you then need to go to the shooting range and complete a training in order for that level up to be applied. Oftentimes, priority missions will be locked until you complete a number of secondary missions, which are usually listed for you to choose the one you want to do. All missions give monetary rewards. Into the Radius will mainly appeal to the type of gamer who wants to really jump in and progress through a game with a level of intent. This game probably will not be as fun to the casual gamer who just jumps in VR once every few weeks and plays for 30 minutes to an hour. You will need to take your time to progress through this title. You need to plan out what guns, how many clips you're going to take. You might need to eat, sleep before you go out. You might need to organize your base, sell garbage, do maintenance on your gear, which for someone who's just trying to jump in and game for an hour probably won't sound appealing. For a more immersed gamer though, it is hard to take the headset off when playing this game. One more mission might mean 1 more hour. And the game teases you that you just need to complete 2 side missions to get to the next priority mission. Maybe you just leveled up and now you need to do the training to apply that level. Or maybe you just added a scope to your gun and now you want to go test it out. The game can be very addictive for the right gamer, and it really can feel like an accomplishment to make progress in it. I hope this review helps you make the right decision about whether or not this game is for you, and if it did, either save you from buying a game that you won't enjoy or help you feel more comfortable about purchasing a game that you will enjoy, please consider subscribing and dropping a like. For those of you who have already played this, please let me know what you liked or didn't enjoy about the game. Thank you for watching, and game on.